When Menglong's body was discovered beneath a Beijing luxury tower, the official verdict was swift: alcohol, a tragic fall, no foul play. But the internet erupted with whispers too explosive to ignore. Hidden camera footage, some claimed, captured the truth. Yu being poisoned inside his own home before his lifeless body ever hit the ground. Did someone spike his drink that night? And if so, who stood to gain from his silence? Fans spoke of a farewell message referencing dirty money, of a mysterious video passed between insiders, and of a funeral rushed through before real answers could surface. The more officials tried to shut down rumors, the more convinced people became that Yu's humiliation, poisoning, and death were orchestrated from the very start. Tonight on Criminal Tracks, we dive into the forbidden theories behind the fall of a star. Subscribe now, because this story refuses to die. In the early hours of September 11th, 2025, the quiet streets of Beijing's Chaoyang district were shattered by news that another young star had died far too soon. Yu Menglong, known for his roles in dramas that captured hearts across China and beyond, was discovered lifeless after a fall from Sunshine Upper East, one of the city's most exclusive residential complexes. To his millions of fans, the first shock was the sheer suddenness of it. He was only 37, still in the prime of his career, and no one had expected the morning headlines to carry his name under the word dead. The official record began to take shape almost immediately. Police confirmed that Yu had spent the evening with a small group of acquaintances. Reports noted that alcohol flowed throughout the night, and that he eventually retreated to a bedroom alone. Hours later, his body was found outside the tower, and the police declared the cause of death a fall. There was no mention of foul play, no hints of a criminal investigation, and no suggestion that this was anything more than a terrible accident. His studio released a statement echoing the police conclusion, attributing the tragedy to excessive drinking and urging the public not to speculate. For many observers, this account was straightforward enough. The entertainment industry in China has been shaken by celebrity deaths before, and in each case, the explanations from officials often come quickly. But with Yu, the simplicity of the story left too many gaps. People wanted to know more about what had happened inside that apartment before he fell. They wanted to know what his state of mind was, whether he had quarreled with anyone, and why no one had intervened if he was clearly intoxicated. The official line did not address these questions. Instead, it closed the case almost as soon as it opened. From the beginning, the details offered by authorities were striking in how little they revealed. There was no release of toxicology reports, no official autopsy findings shared with the public, and no timeline beyond the vague acknowledgement that he had been drinking and later found dead. In a city known for control over information, this lack of transparency was not surprising, but to a fan base desperate for clarity, it left room for every imaginable theory to take root. The handling of the funeral only deepened the unease. Within days of his death, arrangements were complete, and Yu's body had been prepared with speed. In a culture where mourning can often stretch over long rituals, this rapid conclusion was seen by some as too efficient. It fueled whispers that authorities wanted the matter closed before questions grew louder. Observers noted the absence of public memorials or opportunities for fans to grieve in person. Everything about the aftermath felt restrained, hurried, and tightly managed. Meanwhile, media coverage within China followed the expected pattern. News sites repeated the official statements without deviation. They described Yu's fall, the role of alcohol, and the insistence that no one else was responsible. On the surface, the story was consistent, almost repetitive. But outside of official channels, especially among overseas outlets and social media platforms, beyond the Great Firewall, the gaps became glaring. Why was there no elaboration on who attended the dinner that night? Why was the supposed farewell text he sent to his mother never confirmed or denied with evidence? Why did police move so quickly to announce there was no suspicion of foul play? Even in international coverage, the contradictions were plain. Some outlets framed Yu's death as a tragic accident of excess, a reminder of the pressures young stars face in a hyper-competitive industry. Others hinted at the eerie circumstances of a man who locked himself in a room, only to end up dead hours later. The absence of photos or footage of his final moments meant everything had to be taken on trust, and for many, trust was in short supply. Adding to the uncertainty were the swift actions taken by Beijing police against rumor spreaders. Within 2 weeks, 3 women were detained for fabricating false claims about Yu's death. Authorities announced that they had admitted to spreading damaging stories and that compulsory measures had been imposed. This official crackdown was intended to stop misinformation before it spiraled, but instead of quelling suspicion, it poured fuel on it. Fans and online communities questioned why the state seemed more focused on silencing gossip than providing a clear, detailed account of what had really happened. For those who followed Yu's career, this official version was difficult to accept at face value. He had been a rising star, with a growing list of credits and a strong fan base. There were no widely reported scandals that suggested he was at a breaking point. He was not known for reckless behavior, and though fame in China comes with relentless pressure, nothing in his public image hinted at a man about to self-destruct. The neatness of the explanation, that he drank too much and fell, seemed out of step with the complexity of the person his fans believed him to be. The first part of the story, as presented to the world, was meant to close the case quickly. It established a sequence of events and a cause of death that were simple enough to understand and hard to disprove without access to direct evidence. Yet in being so tidy, it left too many unanswered questions. That vacuum created the perfect conditions for speculation. Soon, what began as a story about a tragic fall was overshadowed by whispers of humiliation, secret recordings, and even poisoning. The official narrative had been written, but it was not the one people wanted to believe. What spread across the internet in the days after Yu Menglong's death was not a quiet acceptance of the official story, but a storm of speculation that took on a life of its own. The most gripping of these theories centered on the idea that Yu had not died because of alcohol or a misstep, but because he had been poisoned before his fall. The claim did not begin with a press release or a news outlet, but with anonymous posts and short video clips that circulated on Chinese forums and then spilled into international spaces. What made this rumor so powerful was the suggestion of visual proof, a supposed hidden camera inside Yu's own residence that captured him being drugged or poisoned by someone in his circle. Accounts of what this recording allegedly showed varied wildly. Some claimed it captured a hand slipping something into his drink during the dinner he attended that evening. Others described Yu in distress, his body reacting to something ingested, while those around him pretended nothing was wrong. A few went further, insisting that the footage revealed a deliberate act of poisoning, followed by a cover-up that ended with Yu being moved and positioned to appear as though he had fallen. Even without a single verified frame of video, the rumor spread faster than any official denial. The very idea that a camera existed somewhere with the truth on it gave hope to those who believed Yu had been silenced by design. The poisoning theory tied directly into other fragments of rumor that were already circulating. Days earlier, people had been whispering about a farewell text allegedly sent to Yu's mother. In it, he was said to have mentioned dirty money and unbearable pressure. Though never authenticated, the text became part of the broader puzzle. If he was talking about dangerous dealings, then being poisoned seemed like a logical extension of that threat. Suddenly, the story was not about an unfortunate accident, but about a man who had knowledge that could cost him his life. The text message, the supposed hidden camera, and the whispers of humiliation all fused into one dark narrative that felt more dramatic and convincing than the bland official explanation. At the heart of these claims was the forbidden video, a piece of evidence everyone seemed to know about but no one could produce. Screenshots circulated, usually grainy and impossible to verify. Each one offered as proof that the hidden recording was real. Some posts claimed that the video had already been handed to police by a director or industry insider who feared the truth being buried. Others said the video was held privately and would one day be leaked in full. The fact that it never appeared only strengthened the conspiracy. If it was fake, why would anyone bother to suppress it? If it was real, then surely powerful forces were making sure it stayed out of sight. The absence of proof became the most convincing proof of all. As the poisoning narrative grew, it absorbed other theories that had already gained momentum. Online threads connected Yu's final hours to the claim that his abdomen had been cut open to remove a hidden USB drive. That rumor, outrageous as it was, suddenly made sense to believers. If he had been poisoned because he knew too much, perhaps he had hidden evidence, and those responsible needed to recover it. Other posts tied the poisoning to the so-called humiliation video involving 11 people. Maybe, some speculated, the drink was spiked as part of that event. Yu's body weakened before the staged fall. Even the whispers about his mother disappearing became tangled in this web. If she was missing, could it be because she knew her son had been poisoned and was silenced for it? What kept these stories alive was not just their sensational content, but the environment in which they spread. Posts about Yu were deleted at lightning speed. Hashtags were banned. Accounts were suspended. For fans watching this unfold, the crackdown did not feel like protection from harmful rumors, but like confirmation that something explosive was being hidden. In countries with freer press environments, an official denial might calm speculation. In this case, censorship itself became evidence. The more forcefully rumors were scrubbed, the more convincing they appeared to those who already doubted the state's narrative. Adding to the sense of secrecy was the speed of Yu's funeral. Fans noticed how quickly the body was prepared and how little information was shared about what examiners found. Into this silence, poisoning theories slotted neatly. It was easy to believe that any trace of toxins could have been erased or concealed before the funeral. The lack of a public autopsy report, the refusal to release toxicology results, and the absence of independent verification all combined to make the official story feel incomplete. This climate of suspicion was magnified by Yu's status as a celebrity. His face was well known, his career watched closely. He was not a man who could vanish from the public eye without questions. Every rumor became a piece of a larger drama, one that people wanted to believe because it made his death feel less meaningless. In this light, poisoning was more than a theory. It was a narrative that turned Yu into a victim of betrayal and power plays rather than a casualty of misfortune. For his fans, it was easier to accept that he had been targeted than to accept that his life ended because of a drunken stumble. The hidden camera claim became the crown jewel of this narrative. It gave people something to chase, something tangible to imagine. Even without proof, it was easy to picture. A camera catching the exact moment poison entered his system, a silent witness that confirmed all suspicions. The story spread internationally, crossing language barriers because it fit a familiar pattern of scandal and cover-up. It was not just about Yu, but about a system that seemed willing to bury the truth at all costs. By the time September gave way to October, the poisoning theory had taken firm hold in online spaces. It was no longer presented as speculation, but as a certainty by those who believed it. The hidden camera became a legend, the piece of evidence that could break the case open, though no one had seen it. For many, the official conclusion that Yu died from drinking and falling was no longer credible. They preferred the darker, more intricate story in which he was poisoned, betrayed, and silenced. Whether true or not, that story had eclipsed the reality of what authorities claimed happened. Yu's death was no longer just a tragedy. It was the centerpiece of a conspiracy that people believed only a hidden camera could ever fully reveal. As the poisoning theory tightened its grip on the public imagination, the divide between the official narrative and the one crafted online became impossible to ignore. The government's firm statement that Yu Menglong had simply drunk too much and fallen was repeated in every domestic outlet, yet few seemed convinced. Instead, the public clung to rumors of poison-laced drinks, a hidden camera that allegedly captured everything, and an organized cover-up that reached far beyond Yu's circle of acquaintances. The strength of these beliefs came not from hard evidence, but from the way censorship, silence, and suspicion worked together to make the forbidden seem real. The crackdown on rumor spreaders did not help. Beijing police detained 3 women who had admitted to fabricating details, including claims that Yu was abused and humiliated before his fall. But rather than reassuring the public, these arrests deepened the sense that something was being hidden. People asked why so much energy was being spent silencing individuals online, instead of offering a thorough, transparent investigation. The fact that the women's stories included references to poisoning and humiliation made their detention look less like justice and more like the suppression of inconvenient narratives. To many, it confirmed that the state wanted to bury any version of events that contradicted the official line. Meanwhile, conspiracy threads multiplied in creative directions. Some suggested that Yu was already dead before he ever left the apartment, and that his fall was staged to look accidental. Others argued that the body may have been moved between multiple locations before being discovered. The hidden camera was often invoked to connect these theories, as though the recording held the answers to all of them. If such footage existed, it could explain whether Yu was poisoned, whether he died before the fall, and whether people around him staged the scene to conceal the truth. The absence of this camera evidence was easily explained away in the world of speculation. Either it was confiscated by authorities or kept under wraps by someone too scared to release it. In this parallel universe of rumor, Yu's mother became another symbol of mystery. Posts circulated claiming she had disappeared after his death, unable or unwilling to speak about what happened. Some went further, alleging that she was silenced because she knew her son had been poisoned. While police later identified these stories as fabricated, the narrative stuck because it fit so neatly with the belief that anyone close to Yu was in danger if they spoke out. The mother's supposed disappearance became part of the same puzzle that included the hidden camera and the poisoned drink, pieces of evidence always just out of reach, but powerful enough to keep suspicion alive. Celebrities caught in the web of rumor could not escape either. When Gao Taiyu and Elaine Song issued public denials of any involvement, their actions were meant to protect their reputations. But in the eyes of many online observers, the very need to respond hinted that something had happened. Why issue statements at all, people asked, if the accusations were so baseless? This circular logic kept speculation alive, reinforcing the idea that Yu's death was not a private accident, but an event with multiple players and hidden motives. The poisoning theory was just one thread in a much larger tapestry of betrayal and conspiracy. What made these rumors especially potent was how they transformed Yu's image. The official version reduced him to a man who drank too much and made a tragic mistake. The alternative version recast him as a target, someone who perhaps knew secrets, resisted powerful forces, and paid the ultimate price. In this telling, he was not just an actor, but a martyr. The hidden camera supposedly capturing his poisoning became more than a device. It was the symbol of a truth the world was not allowed to see. Fans embraced this narrative because it gave his death meaning, turning senseless loss into a story of courage and corruption. The speed with which posts about Yu disappeared only added to the legend. Hashtags were blocked, videos removed, and discussions silenced. Each deletion acted like gasoline on the fire. Instead of quieting doubts, censorship magnified them, convincing people that the hidden camera had to exist. Otherwise, there would be no need to erase conversations so quickly. In an environment where silence is often mistaken for proof, the state's response inadvertently ensured that conspiracies about poisoning flourished. By the time weeks had passed, 2 versions of Yu Menglong's death coexisted. One was the official record: a fall after drinking too much, no foul play, end of story. The other was the sprawling narrative created online: a star poisoned by people he trusted, caught on a hidden camera that no one had ever seen, silenced to protect powerful interests. For millions, the latter felt far more believable than the former. It offered drama, villains, and a reason why such a talented life was cut short. In the end, the truth of what happened in that Beijing apartment may never be fully known, but the idea that Yu was poisoned before his fall, captured on a hidden camera that the world is not allowed to watch, has taken on a life of its own. It shows how conspiracy can thrive in the absence of transparency, how censorship can create more questions than answers, and how the hunger for scandal can overshadow official fact. Yu's death, tragic in any version, has become more than an accident. It has become a story of hidden evidence, silenced voices, and a haunting belief that the real explanation lies locked away on a camera no one may ever see. The official account tells us Yu Menglong died by accident, yet across the internet another story thrives. One of poison, betrayal, and a hidden camera that no one is allowed to see. Whether these claims are fact or fiction, they have reshaped how millions remember him, turning a simple tragedy into a scandalous legend. The unanswered questions may never fade, but what is certain is that Yu's death left behind a shadow darker than any role he ever played. Stay with Criminal Tracks for the investigations others won't touch, and subscribe now to uncover the secrets hidden in plain sight.